Hi, Hannah. Welcome to the interview. Our users would love to hear from you, and thank you for accepting the invitation.
Of course. Thanks, Akash.
Can
I'll
you?
introduce myself.
Yeah,
Let me
yeah.
introduce myself to
Essentially, yeah.
start with here. So, my name is Hannah Christian. I am the Director of Career Services here at Northwest Missouri State University. And I have been working with Akash and his team at WiseDoc for how many years is this? 2 years, 3 years? It's been a
Three
couple
years at this
years.
point.
Yeah. And we worked so closely together in, trying to really work toward putting together a product that is really streamlined and user friendly for students, and something I think that, career services offices can really benefit from and use in sort of a very efficient way, I think, to help their students.
Yeah, great. So I'm going to dive right into the topic because I was at NACE conference recently. WiseDoc was presenting, and we were in the booth. And one of the comments we heard is the AI career preparation tools. There's several of these, and they're all trying to just replace all the career advisors, which they can't. I don't know why and what's going on. So there's been comments like this at the conference. So I'm going to dive straight into the topic. Northwest Missouri State University has been using AI for 3 years at this point. And do you believe that AI career preparation tools are actually created to replace the career services itself? What do you think about the thought?
Sure. Um, so in not just in terms of maybe, what WiseDoc has built in I think AI in general, when it comes to career advising, I think anyone who has not been a career advisor doesn't really understand maybe the sort of scope of sort of variables that you have to deal with when you're talking, whether it's to students or it's to veterans or it's to someone who's been employed for 20 years and is transitioning into a new role. So what AI is really good for is AI is a really, really great back and forth checking in terms of getting feedback on maybe some ideas. So if you're a student, I'm just trying to think through the student lens always, right? Since our career center
Hmm.
serves primarily students, I'm trying to think about if I can use the AI to say, hey, what if I want to do XYZ with my, what if I want to do this for my career? The AI can immediately give you feedback on, well, you'll probably need this type of experience. You could put it this way on your resume. Um, Here's maybe some internships that you might need to look for. It could even search the web. Some of them can even search the web and be like, here, you should apply for these internships. But in terms of replacing career services staff, I think that does a disservice to thinking through the actual role that career services staff plays in the student journey. And I think there are a couple things. Number one, the AI is not going to ever be able to address the students' sort of emotions regarding that career search. So part of my job as a director or as an adult in the career seeking world is to provide encouragement and support to those students and to explain to them, hey, everyone experiences this uncertainty. Everybody feels awkward about transitions. It's not easy to approach this sort of unknown in your career and your work life, and to be able to go confidently toward that. So there's a huge, and I would say this is sort of like emotional support or maybe counseling. It's not about providing them a path as much as it is providing them the support to help them to know that they have the agency and the capacity to take that next step. And so that's the first thing I think. And I think the second thing, I think there are three things. So that's the first
Hmm.
one. I think the second thing is, I think maybe a closer integration is you can ask the AI, what choice, here's my situation, right? I need a car. I need to save up to buy a car. I live in this city. Here's the jobs I want to go for. And you can ask the AI, like, what should I do? Right? Give me advice. What would be the next steps for me to take? And it can give you next steps, but it might not be, if you don't give it all of the information by telling it your story, it's not going to be able to get a comprehensive view of what your life is looking like. Whereas if you're talking to a career advisor and you say, "Oh yeah, my mom's sick and I've been working at this place," and just in the course of talking to a human, you're able to kind of tell your story and show up as a more rounded person, and the advisor takes all of that information in terms of being able to give you maybe some concrete next steps about what you can do. And the AI can do that. I'm
Hmm.
not saying it can't. I'm just saying we don't have any robust, there's no robust way. You have to give it all of that information. And that might be hard to do if you're not used to working with the AI in that way. And then I think on the third level, which I think is going to be the most difficult part in terms of replacing a career services staff, is that we're constantly scanning, the academic environment and the marketplace
Hmm.
and putting together a plan that helps us be able to serve as many students as possible across the board in terms of the university. And the scope of that is just, it comes from years of experience, it comes from
Yeah.
years of working with students. And AI maybe in the future might be able to have some comprehensive way of making those types of decisions. But right now, for me, on that higher level, maybe sort of leadership level and visioning level, AI simply doesn't have the capacity at the higher level to look at those concerns that students have. So I hopefully that answers your question. I think higher level things, AI will never replace a human to do that. I think maybe lower level things, I don't still don't think it will replace a human. What it can do is augment how effective that career advisor can be in terms of helping more students and helping students faster and maybe helping
Hmm.
students in a way that's more beneficial to the student, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I think I 100% agree with those points. Especially when I was a student and I was reaching out to contact my advisor about how should I respond to this offer I got from the company. And maybe AI can certainly definitely create you an email template and maybe a good email with the grammar mistakes and everything. But it certainly cannot tell you what's the best way to negotiate and discuss with the recruiter at that point of time with the context and
Right,
your personal situation. So maybe I just can't negotiate it hard because that's the only offer I got.
right.
And so I need to watch my tone accordingly. So there is a human need. And that I completely agree with the points you made. But one follow-up question to that is this a realization you got about the value, the true value from the advisor being provided after you got the AI tool a few years ago, or was this a part of a vision long time ago that at some point you would want the structure to be taken care by some tool and then start to drive the focus differently?
Oh, um, I think if you think about it, we kind of came at it from two ends.
Yeah.
So the first end was we were trying to be strategic. I think at a university level, when you think about doing academic work, I think a lot of professors and maybe even administrators might be concerned about AI in terms of students using AI to write papers or to come up with scholarly work that's not their own. And so we have a lot of more like academic concerns. I think from our perspective, in terms of the practicalities of applying for jobs and writing technical documents, we were like, yes, AI, let's go into the future,
Hmm.
right? This is obviously going to be a great tool um, that is going to help us. And so, again, we are 4 full-time staff at a university that has 10,000 students. There is no way that we can
Hmm.
effectively serve 2,500 students apiece, even over the course of an academic year. So we really wanted to invest in a tool that would help us be able to streamline maybe not even the way that we help students, but the way the students can
Right.
access help on their own, right? And so
Right.
having an AI tool be built in is just giving the students access to something preemptively so that they don't have, if they don't have any struggles, or they don't, they're pretty confident about what they need to do, they can just take advantage of that tool and run with it.
Mm-hmm.
On the other end of the spectrum, I think in terms of helping and counseling students who are struggling, I think we didn't really I think we underestimated the ability of maybe showing them how
Mm-hmm.
AI can help them, or to be able to run the AI for them or with them in real time. It was an opportunity to kind of teach them something new, and maybe something that we didn't
Uh-huh.
really expect was going to be helpful for us. So
I
we
see.
could use it as a tool and say, hey, look, here's how, we're here for you, here's how we can help you, but here's also how you can use this
Mm-hmm.
tool to be able to help yourself, right? And so sometimes just having that tool available for them also gives them a little bit more confidence in knowing, oh, I don't, because sometimes it can feel shameful, right? I
Yeah.
don't want to express that I don't know what I'm doing. I don't want to have to go to
Mm-hmm.
another human and be like, I need help, I don't know what I'm doing. So to be able to show them this tool where they can get this very quick feedback, a lot of times that boosts their confidence
Mm-hmm.
itself, just to be able to use that tool, to not always have to come back and forth and get that assistance from a person.
I see. So, what is the current workflow looking like with AI and the career advising combined? Is there a journey or a flow for a student who is looking for help? What's the current workflow?
So right now, I would say I'm going to call it, like, we've really proactively tried to push out as much information about how to be a self-serve office as
Mm-hmm.
much as possible. So whether that is YouTube videos, embedded in courses, here's the tool, here's how to use it. Whether it is proactively going to a class and saying, to 50 students, here's what we offer, here's how you can use it. We've tried to push the information out instead of
Mm-hmm.
keeping it proprietary to us, because what we found is, again, 1 to 2,500 students,
Mm-hmm.
the more that the students understand how to use those tools, the less we only get now. So we've reduced, maybe this is a little bit of a scary thing, but
Mm-hmm.
we have reduced our walk-ins in our office probably by about 60%. So we have
Mm-hmm.
about 60% fewer students walking in and needing help face to face or one on one, because we
Mm-hmm.
have pushed out information about, here's how you can do this on your own. And so we're seeing more escalated incidents. So, and I that
I
sounds
see.
like disciplinary things, but like, we're seeing students who have bigger problems, or maybe who have something outside of just resume and cover letter questions. They have real life
Right. Right.
situations that they're trying to navigate.
Right.
So I would say that it has probably boosted the level of resumes that our students can write right off the
Mm-hmm.
bat, because we've already given them the tools proactively. And then when they come back to us for help, they're needing help with issues that are not something an AI can help with,
Right.
right? So it's whether
Right.
it's a networking question. Hey, do you know someone in XYZ that you could, help me out with? Or it's, my
Right.
mom and dad are splitting up and I don't know how to navigate this. So we're getting more human questions in terms of
Yeah.
job seeking, and less resume questions, which at the end of the day, I think is a huge
Yep.
success for us, because that's helped us be able to take, I always say that we work with probably the top 10% of students, and we
Mm-hmm.
work with the bottom 10% of students. And our hope is that 80% of students in the middle can just go through and self-serve, and can take
Right.
advantage of those tools on their own.
Right. Wow, I actually personally didn't know the level of change it actually brought and helped. This was the goal, but it was never, we were not able to collect any data about this in the past. So one thing I would like to ask is there are university career services directors and college, community college career services directors who are currently in a dilemma, and also searching through a good AI tool. And when you have several options, it obviously becomes difficult to understand what's the best and what we actually need. So, do you have any suggestion about or something to watch out for
Mm.
for all these universities when they're trying to adopt a new AI tool?
So that is an interesting question. I think the biggest key in terms of using AI from my perspective in using it professionally in this situation, I think if you're going to onboard or use a new AI tool, it is very important for most of us who don't work in machine learning or who don't work in
Right.
any of the AI sort of back end things, it somewhat seems like a black box. And so I think something that has been helpful for me or that I think would be useful for others would be you need to talk to the vendor or you need to talk to the person who has implemented these AI tools, and they need to be able to explain to you sort of the philosophy and the logic that's built into why their AI, like what is their AI um, really geared toward,
Mm-hmm.
because it's something that has to be trained. It's not, you
Right.
don't just like grow it out of it, sprinkle it out and grow it and it
Right.
hatches with its own independent personality. So it has to be trained, it has to be given information, and you need to know what it's been trained on and what it's looking for, how it's prioritizing terms, because the beauty of it is there are a lot of different ways, little subtle things that you can train an AI on
Mm-hmm.
that will make it respond. This AI might respond differently than this AI
Right.
based on its learning. And so you need to be very clear about each model as a leader. You need to have that model be explained to you so that when you're asked by your administrators, when you're asked by your staff, when you're asked by students, hey, I'm putting this into the AI platform and this
Mm-hmm.
is what I'm getting out.
Right.
And it doesn't seem to be working for me. You're like, oh
Right.
no,
Right.
I don't know what's happening on the AI side of things. You need to have enough understanding, and it doesn't necessarily have to be technical, but you need to have enough understanding of the philosophy and training of the AI so that you can explain to the true users who don't have any understanding or insight
Mm-hmm.
what it's prioritizing. Why is it working the way that it works? Why are you getting these results? And if you feel like you can't explain that to your staff or your students as a leader, you probably need to go back to your vendor. You need to
Mm-hmm.
go back to the representative for the company who's using that tool, and you
Right.
need to ask them, take some responsibility and ask them, how is this trained, how is this working? Because that is something I think it's a level of responsibility that sort of gets passed down to the end user, and if you're not aware of how that's working, it's going to be something that people will question you about. So I think being very clear about
Mm-hmm.
what is happening, and as they adjust the models and tweak the
Yeah.
models, like
Yeah.
what are they feeding it, how is it learning? I think that's
Right.
really important in terms of back end, knowing how the product is adjusting to your users, because that's really
Yep.
it's a learning from the users at the same time. So
Yep.
I think
No,
that's
I
really
agree.
important.
Yeah. Definitely. So, last question
Oh wait,
is,
I
yeah.
have
Yeah.
one more comment about that now that I think about it. I also think you need to know, you need to have been in the situation of using the AI, maybe even for your own, like
Mm-hmm.
maybe you're not searching for a job, but you need to be able to have put your resume in it. You need to have worked with it enough to know the limits.
Right.
Because again, you're going to have some limits that are maybe pretty self-evident, but you're going to have some other ways of using AI that
Mm-hmm.
the limits may be out here, but you're not going to be aware of that if you've not used it in the way that it's meant to be used.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've not tried to rewrite your resume or write your cover letter or do a mock interview and you've not used these tools, then you're not going to have
Mm-hmm.
a very good idea of what the limits are. So I think using them as a personal user is a really, really important part of having that knowledge. So it's not what the
Right.
developer has told you. It's not this theoretical knowledge that you have about it, but it's the actual UX experience of being user of the product. That often
Mm-hmm.
we as directors don't have that because we've been in our role. We didn't have to
Right.
apply. We didn't use any of these AI tools. So being a user is very important to me, I
I
think.
see.
So
I see. So, one last question is, if you had all the resources in the world, and if you have a way to change the current system or improve the current system, AI plus the career services, 5, 10 years from now, what would that
mm,
look like?
I think all the resources. So I think actually the biggest struggle is not around resources, which is obviously you're trying to give
Mm-hmm.
me all the resources to take the resources constraint out. I think the biggest struggle is that boundary of knowing when is a human response more valuable than something an AI can give.
Mm-hmm.
And I think part of that is working with the platform and
Mm-hmm.
understanding its limitations, its boundaries and its limitations. And then it's also working with people and
Right.
knowing their boundaries and limitations. And so from my perspective as a leader, I think the hardest part for me is training your because you can't train all of the students, right? The students are going to come to you, they just come in waves, they
Yeah.
don't know the things, right? So to be able to train my staff and to be able to train my student employees, um, to have one hand in this sort of AI tool and know how to use it and to be
Mm-hmm.
masterful with it, and on the other hand then to have people skills and to know how to relate what you can do with this tool and relate it back to the
Mm-hmm.
human. So I think in the past, so let's because the future is always coming out of the past,
Yeah.
right? So I think in the past, so let's talk about the last 20 years. Career services has been a lot about people skills, and it's been a lot about kind of networking and this sort of expert
Mm-hmm.
awareness of like what does a good resume look like, etc. And I think it's going to be less about having that expertise knowledge about what's good and what is out there. Even networking,
Mm-hmm.
honestly, I think an AI can probably do networking better than a human. But what it is you still have to be able to connect that human element with the tool. So I think
Yeah.
that connection of being able to teach them how to use the tool, teach them how to respond to the tool, but also give
Mm-hmm.
them the confidence to know that like we're all here just trying to work through what it
Right.
means to work with AI as well, right? Like,
Yeah.
again, it's not me turning into an AI expert. I am an AI expert by zero means. I'm just fumbling out here trying to use it, right, at the same rate
Yeah.
and the same way that you are. So it is sort of, and I feel like this is a kind of the common element in the work even in the past
Mm-hmm.
is having one hand on kind of the latest greatest tools that we're trying to use and trying to incorporate and one hand into like the psychology of a job
Mm-hmm.
seeker
Yeah.
because that it's a very unique psychology and a very unique sort of role, and then to be able to plug it in with that tool, to be able to train my staff to do that, to be able to teach my staff how to work with the tool, to
Mm-hmm.
be able to have a tool that doesn't require a lot of technical expertise, that's easy to understand, that's easy to
Mm-hmm.
grasp, that has an easy to use interface. Um, so maybe streamlining. So
Mm-hmm.
here's my final answer.
Yeah.
Streamlining the way that I can teach people to use the tool, and then streamlining the way that I can teach the people who are using the tool to teach other people to use the
Right.
tool, if that makes sense.
Right.
I think
Right.
resource constraints aside, we have a lot of very powerful systems and a
Uh-huh.
lot of robust systems that have many features. But the more robust a platform becomes, I think sometimes the harder it is for me to train my staff how to use it or interface with it.
Right. Right.
So if you can keep the system simple,
Mm-hmm.
then you can still remain focused on sort of the people aspects rather
Right,
than
right,
making them become technical wizards and know how to use the system, because
right.
there's just a lot of time and energy wasted in that. So
Yeah,
simplicity, efficiency, something that's intuitive to use.
yeah. Well, that gives me a lot of suggestions and ideas as a software developer itself. So, I think this was great, Hannah. A lot of points you mentioned will be useful for understanding if the truth behind using the AI you have been using for a few years at this point. I hope this will be useful for all the universities thinking about AI and questioning about AI. So, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, thank you.